It's going to be a writing vlog. So if you're not going to do the third act breakup plot idea, there still needs to be something that makes the reader question, are these characters going to get the happily ever after that I really want them to get? It's been a few books since I've been in this position. I don't know if I like it or not. The pressure's off for this year as far as reading. If I just want to read and enjoy reading. Hello and welcome to a new vlog. Welcome if you're new here. Hi, I'm Andrea. I'm a full-time university writing instructor and a part-time content creator and indie author. Welcome back if you're one of my lovely returning friends. It is great to have you all here today. Welcome to Saturday. It is the Saturday after the first full week of classes. So week 1 is done, 14 more to go, not including spring breaks. If we include spring break, 15 weeks until the last week of classes, which is very exciting. That I survived week 1. It felt touch and go there a couple times. It's been a very long week. It has felt like a long week. It has been a very exhausting week, but it's been a good week. The first day of class went really well, as you will have seen in the last vlog. I've continued getting some really lovely emails from students and slowly getting to know my students through their emails and through the literacy narratives they've been submitting. So I started grading those. I'll finish grading those next week. Wednesday, I went over to the house and hung out with mom and dad. I had a dentist appointment, which is over. My dentist is over by them, so that's why I went over there on Wednesday. Thursday, I just worked at home. I was feeling really run down. I think knowing I had to go to my dentist appointment and stuff like kept me going a bit on Wednesday, but Thursday, knowing I didn't have to go anywhere, I could just work from home and take it easy, I definitely crashed a bit on Thursday. And then yesterday I went to Whole Foods in the morning, and in the afternoon I had to go down to campus for our start of semester faculty meeting. So I had lunch, got a free book. I picked up a copy of Kristen Hanna's The Women. This was recommended by another content creator I follow here on YouTube. It made her list of one of her favorite books of 2024. I've read Kristen Hanna before. I've read The Nightingale. I loved that book, but that book did wreck me. I cried for the last 40 pages, sobbed like a baby. So it's kind of put me off reading her books. If this book ends in a similar way where it's just so heart-wrenching, I don't know that I'm ready for it, but I feel like it is a book I would want to read one day after hearing this creator talking about it and what she loved about it. It sounded like a book that I would really enjoy reading. I just don't know when. It might be like a few years from now. So was able to pick that up from the publishing reps. Was not going to turn down a free copy of it. Let me know if you've read it. Is the ending as emotionally heart-wrenching as the ending of The Nightingale? I loved The Nightingale. I really, really did. So I know I like her writing. I don't need anything that emotional at this particular moment in time. But yeah, so Friday was really good. I got to see some of my friends yesterday and hang out with them for a bit, and then just came home and crashed on the couch and relaxed for the rest of the evening. This morning I've gone for a lovely sunrise hike, which you will have just seen. I hope you enjoyed that. And now I am all cleaned up and cozy and ready to get on with a very relaxing day. It's going to be a writing vlog for the most part. I also want to do some reading, and I want to do some cover sketching, because I did finally start working on the cover on Monday and I want to keep that going. So I'm going to do at least 15 minutes today. I might try to do 30 so that I don't have to do 15 minutes tomorrow. I need 30 more minutes for this week because I'm trying to do 45 minutes per week, which breaks down to 3 15-minute segments or sketching sessions. So I might just do 30 minutes and then I'll get my 45 for the week and feel like I can just relax tomorrow. Same thing with writing. I'm close to some writing goals. So I've got my realistic goal and then like my best case scenario goal. We'll talk about those later, but basically I am within striking distance of 80,000 words total in the manuscript, and I just really like the sound of that. But I am starting chapter 18. I'm getting close to the climax of the novel and I'm struggling a bit with where this book is at. So we'll talk about all of that, and that's going to be the majority of this video is writing. But I'm also 30 minutes away from finishing the novel I'm currently reading, so I want to finish that and start my next book of the year. So I think I'm gonna go get myself some coffee, get settled on the couch, do some reading, finish that book, start the next one, maybe start doing some writing on the couch and just see how things are feeling. I now feel like I'm starting to ramble and don't quite know exactly what I'm saying. I know what I want to do today. I don't know the order I want to do things. I just know I want to do some reading first. And before I do anything, I need some coffee. So that's what I'm going to go sort out. It is 12:47. I am moving over to the desk for now, although I just want to go back to the couch. But I needed to get up to swap out the camera battery, and I figure, and I need to sit here to do the cover sketching when I get around to doing that. So I figured I would just come over to the desk to do some more writing. Writing is going well. We will see if that continues. I hope it continues. So I have managed 805 words so far. I didn't think it was going to come quite that easily, but it has, so that is fantastic. Just getting my mouse and my keyboard connected, and I'm going to light my candle. This is my project candle. If it will light, it doesn't want to light. Probably need to be sensible and trim the wick and do what I'm supposed to do with these candles. You should always trim the wick before you light your candles, because it will make sure that they burn more evenly. How do I know this about candles? Because I wrote a book about a woman who owns a candle store. And so I did a lot of research about the making and care of candles. It's also how I know that this isn't the best candle. They didn't do the wicks properly, and that is why it is starting to tunnel down, because the wicks weren't placed properly to ensure an even dispersion of heat and melting across the whole surface layer of the candle. One day I will start making my own candles. That is something I really want to do. Like, I bought a couple books on candle making when I did my book, and like, I don't need another hobby. Anyway, writing is going well. I need to figure out what music ambiance YouTube video I'm going to put on to continue writing. But writing update, where we're at. I have written 805 words so far today. I needed like 600 words, just under 600 words. Oh, I left my notebook on the couch. I don't want to get up, but hold on. I need this notebook. Tuck myself back into my chair here. I had done, I think it was like 4,400 something words so far between Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So Monday I did 1,426, Wednesday I did 859, Thursday I did 862, and yesterday I did 1263. I was really happy with 859 on Wednesday because I was at my parents' house and I don't normally get that much writing done when I go over to my parents' house. So I was really proud of myself for getting 859 words. My goal in Scrivener for most of this week has been around 850. Today it was saying 833 because I did so much yesterday. So my daily session target to maintain hitting 100,000 words by February 23rd, my daily target is coming down, which is fantastic because it means on days like Wednesday when I know that I can't get to a full 1,000 words or more, I can still try to get close to 800 something. And even if I only do 500, like if my goal is 1,000 words and I only do 500, then I've only done half my goal. But if my goal is 800 and I only do 500, I'm only a few hundred words short at that point. And then that's easier to feel like I can make that up another day. So like the 2 days that I did under 1,000 words got balanced out by the 2 days that I did over 1,000 words. And so I had set a goal of writing 5,000 words this week, and I've definitely done that by writing 805 words so far today. I've definitely done that. But I am also now up to 79,127. So I need less than 1,000 more words. Only about less than 900, just under 900 really. And I will get to 80,000. So I'm gonna keep pushing on with the writing and try to get to 80,000 words. I just will feel so much better about going into next week's writing if I know that I've hit 80,000. It will feel like it will take the pressure off of the next 2 weeks of writing, because I know over the next 2 weeks I can definitely do another 5,000 words. But if I can be doing 4,000 to 5,000 words next week and the week after, then I could be to almost 90,000 words by the time January is done. And then that means in February I would only have to write about 10,000 words. Or it also means if somehow this book ends up being over 100,000 words, I would still finish it by February 23rd. So in terms of chapter and structure and like where I'm at chapter wise in the book, I am part way, still early into chapter 18 out of 20. So I need to finish chapter 18, and then there's chapter 19 and chapter 20, and then there's the epilogue, and then there's also the prologue, which currently only has 73 words in it. I've got some rough notes sketched out for what the prologue will be. Typically in these books, the prologue is the main character as like a child or as a teenager and somehow connected to the business that she runs in the book, or that she will run in the book, or the idea for a business she wants to own one day. So like the prologue of Bookshop is Kate in her grandparents' bookshop when she's visiting as a teenager before going off to college, I think it was. Can I remember my own book? The Inn of Hopes and Dreams is Lydia exploring the Silver Stag when her parents first decide to buy it when she was a teenager, teenager. And Candle Shop is Elise in her parents' hardware store across the street from what becomes her candle shop, and making her first candle, you know, from a candle kit that her grandparents got her for Christmas. So I want something like that for this book. The first 3 books have prologues, so I feel like I've established a pattern. I don't want to not do a prologue, but when I started writing this book, I was still struggling to get into the heads of these characters, and I just couldn't quite see. I had an idea for the prologue, but I couldn't see the whole prologue, and I didn't want to start writing it at that point. And I do think now I will probably go back and write the prologue before I finish the last chapter and write the epilogue. But in fact, it might be something I could work on that today. I might work on that today. The prologue will be short. I typically keep the prologues around 1,000 to 1,500 words. They're not long. They're just meant to introduce you to the character and kind of her passion for the thing that becomes the business in the book. Like I was saying though, I'm at almost 80,000 words. I've only got 2 and a bit chapters plus the epilogue left if we take the prologue out of the situation. Like I'm almost to the end of this book. I am gonna finish this like on time, if not early, which is a great feeling because it means I can then take time to finish up the cover design and not feel super rushed with the cover, or like I'm then losing time on editing. Like I think if I can finish this first draft early, I can then take a week or so, however early I finish, to then focus on the cover full time as far as the amount of time I allot to my books each week, and still be starting developmental editing on time. I am starting to get a little concerned about how much developmental editing this book is going to need, and that's for a few different reasons. And that's something we can talk about in a moment, but I'm procrastinating now, so I want to get back to work on this, try to get another 900 or so words written, get to 80k. I feel like I just got to 70k. Like seriously, I feel like I just hit 70k, and so I kind of can't believe that we're already now to 80k just about. But I want to get to 80k, and then we can talk more about some of the struggles I'm having as I am nearing the end of this book. $80,290 words. So I have managed to do 1,968 words today. It's feeling really good, so like I'm tempted to keep going, but I also am really mindful of not wanting to burn out. as far as writing is concerned. Like, I want to feel like I can sit down at my desk each day or 5 days a week and know what I'm going to write. And I also don't want to rush these last few chapters because I'm already starting to feel like the ending is, I don't know. So going back to like why I'm a little nervous about developmental editing, this is going to be a very messy draft. Like, I just know this already, and I've worked on this in starts and stops. So if like I was talking about, I think in the last vlog, if I look at my writing history in this project, in January so far, I've done 16,503 words, which is fantastic. Super excited about that. In December, I only did 3,795. In November, I did 29,680, which is great. In October, I only did 2,564 because October was when I picked it back up after finally publishing Forever Love London. So prior to October, I show 6 words in July, -71 in June. I don't know how that happened. 106 in April. I must have just been adding things to like my outline or just notes as I had ideas for things. February, I had done 13,935. January, I did 8,293. And then December, I show -4,157. I don't know how that happened. So I don't know how that happened. So basically I started working on this in January of last year, and I would have worked on it then in January and February, and then not touched it again until October, and then did a little bit on October, did a lot in November, did a little bit in December, and now I'm doing a lot in January. And historically speaking, for me, when I have gaps in between, I mean, I should double check this though before I speak like this is fact, because I feel like in my head, I'm really comparing it to Forever Love London. So I'm going to open up Forever Love London. I just want to look at the writing history in that. So Forever Love London, I started in July of 2022. August, I'd done 3,400. Didn't do anything in September. Did 112 in October. That would have all been on my outline. But November of that's what happened. November of 2022, I wrote the majority of the book in NaNoWriMo that year. I did 60,776 words. Then I only did 3,500 in December of 2022. And then 15,000 in January. And then 17,000 in February. And then 8,000 in March. And I think that's when I finished it, because then the rest of this is like negative numbers or small increases, I think, when I was doing developmental editing for that. So Forever Love London was written primarily in November, January, and February. So it was a shorter span of time. And I just feel like, and if I opened up the other Scrivener files, I'd probably do the same thing. Like Bookshop of Possibilities, I feel like that just flowed out of me, and I started it and I didn't stop writing it until it was done. Like just every day I was working on it. And there are other books that are the same way. Generally, I prefer doing what I kind of refer to as a speed drafting process, where I write that first draft as quickly in as short a span of time as possible, even if it's a messy first draft, because like with lots of little errors and stuff, because structurally the drafts I write faster tend to structurally be better. So there'll be lots of little errors and mistakes, but those are easy things to fix. But the main structure and like the plot development, the character development is pretty solid. when I went back to start editing Forever Love London, like, the story was good. There wasn't much that needed to be done structurally. And I feel like a lot of the other books were the same way. A Brave Start wasn't, though, and that's because that book took me several years to write. The one advantage a Brave Start had, despite being the first draft of that being stretched across so many years, is every time I would restart it, I'd go back to the beginning and reread everything I'd written up to that point, and then I'd continue writing. And I don't really do that anymore because I'm not going that long in between writing. And so I reviewed the outline when I started working on this again, but it still feels like my brain is just in a different place these days, and even taking a month off from a project is a long time. And so working on it a bit at the beginning of the year, and then taking a break when I really needed to start focusing seriously on Forever Love London, and then starting work on it again and doing a lot in November, but then scaling back how much I worked on it in December, now getting back to work on it in January. I just feel like and I think also because I was still so much in the London headspace with Across the Pond and going to England back in the spring. It's like I can't get England out of my head. I can't get London out of my head, and I really want to be working on the next Across the Pond book, but I have 2 series and I need to be treating them fairly, even though there were 2 Independent Hearts books in a row in between book 3 and book 4 of Across the Pond. I still technically feel like I need to be alternating. And it's not that I don't love this book. I do. I love this book. I love these characters. But I don't know. It's just where I've been at, and maybe there's some guilt with that, and I need to just like get rid of that guilt. Talk about things I need to release this year. Like, I feel very protective over my characters, and I want to feel like I'm doing my characters justice. And I'm not getting the same feeling off the first draft of this one that I feel like I've gotten off the first drafts of some of my other books. I don't get that this is amazing feeling off of every first draft. There are definitely books in my back catalog where it wasn't until the editing process that I started really falling in love with the story, because the story has to be good. If I know that there's something just still not quite right with the story, it is going to change how I look at the book. Like with Bookshop, I loved that story. It's one of the most personal books I've ever written in a lot of ways. A Brave Start kind of is as well. There's something about book 1 of a new series, but there is so much of me and my own family history in the Independent Heart series, and a lot of that came out in Bookshop. And so that first draft, it felt so easy, and by the time I had a full first draft, like I knew there wasn't that much I was going to change about it. Structurally, I knew that I was happy with the big aspects of the story, and I feel like I'm still not quite sure about the big aspects of the story with this one. I'm a little concerned that one of the main points of conflict is going to feel similar to one of the things that was done in Candle Shop. Even though in my mind it's different, I don't want people thinking, oh, that seems really similar to that. I'm not sure the ending, as I'm coming to the ending, 8 romance books in to writing now. I'm not a fan of the 3rd act breakup. I don't mind it when I'm reading it, and it's not that I've never done it, because I have, but it can feel a little bit repetitive when every book I read by an author is the same. But I also struggle when I read books that are labeled as no 3rd act breakup. Sometimes it feels like the ending is just a little bit anticlimactic. And so I feel like the 3rd act breakup trope plot move, whatever you want to call it, is similar to clickbait titles on YouTube. Like, you don't want to do it, but you also know that like you need something to keep the reader interested, and you need something to make someone click on your video. So like YouTube as the example with clickbait titles, you want the title to be catching and make someone stop as they're scrolling through and click on your video. But the bait, it also, like, the video has to live up to what they've been baited for. So it can't be a complete letdown from what the title is alluding to, if that makes sense. With book plots, especially if you're advertising, no third act breakup. There still needs to be something there that is testing the main characters and is testing their relationship. I don't know many romances where you go into it wondering, you know that something is going to test them. That's a huge aspect of romance writing, is there will be something, typically in the third act, that tests the main characters, puts their relationship under pressure, and threatens their ultimate happiness. A breakup is the most common way that that happens. Some sort of misunderstanding or circumstance of life that causes the relationship to end, and then they get back together by the ending. That's the most common way of putting your characters under pressure. So if you're not going to do the third act breakup plot idea, there still needs to be something that makes the reader question, are these characters going to get the happily ever after that I really want them to get? Because if the whole book is just them falling in love and then, well, they're in love, the end, while we love that for the characters, because we don't, you know, who wants unnecessary drama? We don't learn anything from that. And this is why I feel like the third act breakup, the criticism of the third act breakup, is a little bit unwarranted, because ultimately what we're learning through the characters going through that is learning how they go through that, how they learn lessons about what to do and what not to do, how to communicate in a relationship, and how to get over these difficulties. Now, if the trigger of the third act breakup is something really ridiculous, then we're going to roll our eyes, and it's going to be, we're not going to be happy as readers. But there are books I've read that utilize some version of the third act breakup, and it's just like, wow, that was actually really well done, because I don't know what I would have done if I was in the character's position. And I think that's where, as a reader, I struggle. If the third act breakup occurs simply because the characters just weren't listening to each other, or some other seemingly silly, insignificant, you know, like Romeo and Juliet is not a third act breakup, but like, if Romeo had just been a little bit less impatient and waited a few extra minutes, maybe things would have turned out differently. So when it comes down to something that feels really insignificant, then I feel like that's when the third act breakup can feel really disappointing. But when it's a situation where you're honestly like, oh, I don't know what I would do, then you're invested in seeing how the characters get through that situation. And long story short, I just don't know that I'm accomplishing that. Now, I don't have to accomplish that in the first draft. That's what editing is for. But this is also why I'm starting to get a little bit nervous about doing the developmental editing, because I just feel like there's going to be more work structurally that's needed for this book than what I've had to do for the last couple books. I feel like The Inn of Hopes and Dreams and Brave Together had a few more things that I needed to work on, but Candle Shop and Forever London, just those two books just felt like they came together pretty easily, and I knew exactly what I was trying to do with them. So it's been a few books since I've been in this position, and I don't know if I like it or not. I know I don't like being in this position, and I don't know what I'm going to do, but that will be editor Andrea's job to fix. In the meantime, writer Andrea is done for the day and cover designer Andrea needs to come on duty, and I need to change my battery in the camera. So I'm gonna get everything swapped around so that I can get out my sketchbook, do a little bit of sketching until about 2:40-ish, it's 2:06, and then I want to get back to reading because I've started the Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies and I'm only 2 chapters in, so it hasn't grabbed me yet. So I want to do some more reading this afternoon to see if that really hooks me. But first, I have to do some cover sketching. Okay, this has been a very productive day. I've done 30 minutes, a little bit over. I can check off my second and third sketching session of the week. I'll just count this as 2 since I did a little bit extra. I'm very excited because I've gone from a very rough sketch to now a much less rough sketch. I think my next step will be to get my light board out and trace over this one. I was using my rulers and stuff, but I've still got a lot of wonky lines and things that just quite aren't in the right place. But I have the beginnings of a shop and I think I really like it. I'm really happy with it so far. So if this is what I can accomplish in 45 minutes each week, I think next week I can get a much more polished pencil line sketch. I'm really liking how this one's coming along. It's like, you know, I'm limited by my personal drawing ability, but this is starting to look like how I envisioned it, like when I picture the shop in my head and as I describe the shop in the book. This is what I envision the front of the shop to look like. So that's very exciting. I don't think I ever put together, did I do a cover presentation for this? I'll have to look that up. I don't think I did. I need to do that retroactively if I haven't. So I'm gonna make a note to myself. I might take some time next week. I know I did a mood board on Pinterest for this, but I don't know that I did a cover presentation. So I have some imagery, but not as much imagery as I generally like to have for these. So, but yeah, the cover is coming along. I will be so flipping proud of myself. I really will, if I can get this done and like sketched, traced, all of that, and imported into Photoshop by the time I'm done with the first draft. That would just be amazing. I really, really want to see what the copy editing and formatting and proofreading phase feels like if the cover is already done, because I feel like the last several books that I've done, when I get to those final stages, I just become consumed with anxiety over the cover. And so if I can have the majority of the cover, the hardest part of the cover done by the time I get to those steps, that could be game changing. It really could. So on the one hand, it feels really early to be working on the cover because this is much, much earlier than I normally work on it. But it also feels a lot lower pressure because I know I have time. it would be tempting to just continue working on this, but I know I need to not, because I have time. And I think stepping away from it and coming back, but like I had an idea towards the end as I was working on it, and for a little window above the shop door, and I like how it's looking, and some other details on the building that I haven't done on any of the others, and I just love the character that's coming out. So there's still little bits I need to work on, but like it's coming along. So I do think working on a little bit each day over the next several weeks is going to be the best way forward with this. What frustrates me when I am working on it during my normal schedule is that feeling of, I know this doesn't take that long. I know this won't take me that long. But when I feel like I'm under pressure, it just, it messes with my brain and just makes it so hard for me to want to do anything. And right now, like this year, at the start of this year, I am just already feeling so out of sorts in so many ways, and I don't feel the best, and my brain isn't functioning at optimum levels, and I just feel really limited in what I'm able to do and how much I'm able to produce. And you know, it's part of why I made the decision that I made, because I was starting to feel this way towards the end of last year. Like I know my capacity is reduced in terms of how much I can take on and how many different hats I can wear and how easily I can switch between different types of tasks. And so the cover is something I've always enjoyed doing, but it's also something I've always known that I would enjoy more if I didn't have the pressure of a publication deadline looming over me. And so like right now, I don't have a specific date or month. Like I don't even have a specific month. I'm still at the point where like July, August would be nice. But like I can't even narrow it down to one of those. Obviously the sooner the better. If I could publish this next month, that would be amazing. It's not going to happen because it's nowhere near done. But I do think if I finish the rough draft by near the end of February, and if I'm done with the developmental editing by the beginning of May when the semester is done, then England travel dependent, if I were to go to England right after the semester again, then I don't know how much work I'd get done on the book. So if it ends up being like last year where I go to England for most of May and then I'm getting back to work on things in June, then I think copy editing and formatting and proofreading could probably be completed in June and July, and then potentially have a launch by the end of August. So I think the end of August is possibly the earliest we're looking at, but I don't think I'm going to go to England in May because, again, like I said in previous vlogs, I'd have to be booking those tickets right now, and I'm just not in the position to book those tickets at this point. So it's the next potential option would be going to England in August, in which case everything then would get bumped up, and then I would probably be trying to do copy editing, formatting, proofreading, and finalizing the cover and stuff in May and June, launch it at the end of July, and then run off to England in August. Although it'd have to be like late July, because I'd have to be back here for teaching by like mid-August. So, you know, we'll see. But I think I could probably, if I had England as a motivator, I think I could make, you know, early July as a book launch work in that case. But then if England isn't going to happen until December, and like I'll know by May if I'm going to England at the end of the summer versus if I'm then potentially waiting until December. So it's all flexible, and that flexibility and that just ambiguity of just knowing sometime in June or July or August this book will come out, it's making it feel like there's just no pressure on the cover right now, because all of that is still months away. And yeah, So I think that at least this week, and it's the first week I've been trying this, but at least for this week, it's made me feel a lot less pressured and therefore more willing to sit down and just see what I can do in 15 minutes. And I really like that feeling. As I'm sitting here talking about England though, I do really like the idea of, like, if I don't go to England until the end of the summer, like if I go in December, this doesn't really apply, but if I were to go like mid-July to mid-August, somewhere in that time frame, if I could get this book done and completely off my plate, then that whole trip I could be starting to draft or getting back to drafting book 5 of Across the Pond. And I didn't get to do it with Brave with You or Brave Together, but so much of A Brave Start was written on various trips to London in particular, but the 2 summers I lived in Oxford as well, I worked on it. And there's just something about being able to work on these books while I'm in the country, or even more specifically in the city where they take place. Like a lot of the Oxford scenes in A Brave Start, the whole idea to have her go out, to have Eleanor go out to Oxford, and then there's a very important thing that happens when she goes out to Oxford. That kind of came about after me going to visit Oxford on my first trip to London to visit my friend. She and her husband had a friend who was doing an MBA or something in Oxford, and so she and I went out for the day and met up with him, and he took us around and kind of gave us a walking tour and showed us some good coffee shops and things like that. And it just left such an impression on me that I knew when I started writing the book that I had to have a scene. Eleanor had to go to Oxford. She just had to. So there's something special about being able to write books in the location where they're set, if they're set in a real city or a real country or something like that. I wish I could go to Mineral Point, where this book, where the Independent Heart series is like loosely based on a town called Mineral Point in Wisconsin. And so Olsenburg is a fictional town, but it's based in part on a real small town. And I'd love to be able to go and just like stay for like 2 weeks and just write in this novel. That would be amazing. One day I will be able to do that. One day I will have a travel budget as an author, and I can go and like outline a novel in the place where it's set, or I can work on editing that novel in the place where it's set, or I can write the last 20,000 words of the first draft or something like that. I just think that would be amazing. And then I can go back and be there on launch day. Like, I would love to go to Mineral Point when this book launches. And I'd love to go to London when Across the Pond 5 launches. That would just be so amazing. That's definitely a pipe dream. But one can hope. We need our dreams. Our dreams give us motivation to do the things, because one day maybe we can make those dreams come true. But yeah, that is your cover update. For those who were wondering, cover is coming along. Feeling really good about this. But I am now going to go back to reading. It is 3:14, so I think I'm going to make some popcorn. And I need to refill my water bottle. Top that up. And then, yeah, I'm gonna get cozy and snuggly on the couch again and read until dinner time. Oh, I don't even know if I told you, the prologue. I have a prologue now. I think I totally forgot to mention that in the last segment. When I sat back down to write, the remaining, it was more than, as I got to 1900 total. So yeah, I did about 1,200 words just in the prologue alone, because I didn't have that much. I only had 73 to begin with. So the prologue is now 1,200 words. I feel really good about that. So the prologue is done. I am now going to reward my productivity by going back to the couch and being incredibly unproductive and just reading the rest of the afternoon away. I am very relaxed. It has been an absolutely lovely afternoon, but it is now 5:30 and I need to be considering something for dinner. Although I'm not particularly hungry, especially after my popcorn a couple hours ago. I'm really enjoying this. It's a little slow to start. Like I'm almost a quarter of the way through, and I feel like there's not been like a particularly like big inciting incident structurally. It's interesting because it's just been a little bit more drawing you in each chapter, but no like one big thing that really kicks off the drama, so to speak. But I am still really enjoying it. I like the characters, so that will be my book for the next however many days. So yeah, I've read some really good books this month. We'll talk about that probably at the end of the month. I've already read 6. Emily Wilde is my 7th read of the month. So I've read a lot, and I'm riding this wave. I don't know how long this will last, where I just really want to spend time reading and where I'm reading a lot. I don't know how long this will last. It will probably fizzle out at some point or come and go throughout the year. So I'm enjoying it while it lasts, but yeah, I'm getting a good head start on the already fairly minimal and realistic goal I set for the year. I've decided I'm only going to read 44. Like, that's my goal, 44 books for turning 44 this year. I think I'm past setting really big goals of like 80 books or 100 books. Last year I set a goal of 80 books and I only read 50. But I felt really good about the 50 that I read. And I read books that I otherwise wouldn't probably have read if I had been like trying to stick to a really high goal. So I feel like it's the same thing this year. I'm setting a lower goal. I'm not overthinking anything. I'm just reading what I feel like reading. 44 books in a year is less than a book a week. The pressure's off for this year as far as reading. If I don't even get to 44, that's fine. I just want to read and enjoy reading. And I'm really enjoying reading so far this month. So I feel like I've read enough books for January, so if I take a while to read Emily Wilde, that's fine. I'm enjoying reading. I've had a lovely afternoon reading, but it's 5:30, the sun is going down. There's just a tiny glow of light on the building opposite mine, the last bit of the sun. So I'm ready to watch something fun on YouTube or something else. Maybe I'll watch some more Bravo reality. It's the kind of mindless entertainment I kind of feel like watching tonight. I feel like my brain is focused enough on writing my book, on reading other people's books, and now I'm ready to just kind of relax. So yeah. So that's gonna wrap up this vlog. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope this was fun. I'm still buzzing about how much writing I got done. I'm so relieved I got the prologue done. Like, that just feels really good because I feel like that's been hanging over me the entire time I've been writing this book. But it did just kind of then flow out of me. I know it's going to get edited. Editing will happen when it happens, and I'm not going to stress about it any sooner than I need to. Yeah, I'm really happy with how much writing I got done and with how much cover sketching I got done. Like, I feel like I know what the shop front looks like now. So now it's just cleaning up and straightening up the lines, because the lines definitely got a bit wonky, a bit crooked towards the end of sketching. It needs to be cleaned up and polished and straightened, but roughly I know what I'm doing, and it's just a relief. So I feel like the next several weeks of cover sketch work should go pretty well, because usually figuring out what I'm drawing and what the image in my head, translating that to paper, usually that's the hardest part. So yeah, so I'm feeling good, I'm feeling happy, and that's what I needed today. It's just, there's a lot going on in my head, in my life, in the world, and it just feels, my day-to-day just feels very chaotic. So I've needed just a nice quiet day hiding from the world here in my apartment. I hope you've enjoyed this vlog. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. I really appreciate both of those things. Say hi in the comments. Let me know what you're reading. This will be going up on Wednesday the 22nd, so not quite the end of January, but what is a book that has really stood out to you this month that you've read, or is there a book still on your TBR for January or early February that you're really looking forward to? I've been looking forward to Emily Wilde for a while, so I'm glad to finally be reading it. So let me know a book you've read and loved this so far this month, or a book that you are looking forward to reading soon. That can be our question, and you can leave some book, reading, writing related emojis in the comments to let me know which of you lovely people have made it all the way to the end of this vlog, because you are the real MVPs, and I see how many of you watch every minute of these vlogs, and I adore you, so thank you. And yeah, there's now no sunlight left on the building opposite me, or just a very, very tiny bit. So I'm gonna go and get myself, I think, just a nice yummy toasted cheese sandwich for dinner. Sounds really good. And yeah, I will see you all very soon in the next vlog. Thank you very much for watching this one. Bye.